Hello, my name is DWEEB and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. My opponent has gone first and I have 7 consonants. The choice really is between changing or playing, and the only word which stands out in terms of playing is bang, B-H-A-N-G, through the A of fatty, but that doesn't reach the double word square, so it doesn't score very much. I think therefore that changing is best. I'm wondering about retaining the R, and I think I will. And although the R is a good letter, it's not really helped by being duplicated, and that was the reason for my hesitation. However, I do have a playable rack. But I can't play through the A of fatty because my only takes a C after it. So I'm looking to play either through the Y of fatty or parallel to fatty coming off the Y, but that would require placing an N immediately above the Y. So I could play nor and nigh. It's only 9 points and it keeps 4 consonants. Or I could play onto, but not through, the A of fatty. Which looks more promising, but I'm struggling to see a word which fits the bill. Well, proa achieves that, and it splits up the duplicate R. Unfortunately, it still leaves 4 consonants. I'd much rather it only left 3, but it scores 12 points, which is more than nor. Okay, there may be a play which is 1 letter longer and therefore better, but I can't see it. I draw the Q and the V, which isn't good. I do, however, have the I, which makes chi, and I have the N for chin. And I note that I can play chi at J2, making me for over 30 points. That would leave me with 5 consonants, but a 30-point play is always, or almost always, worth taking. I can change next move, or I may draw a couple of vowels and be able to play through. Now if that spot's taken, what else do I have? Well, I could play chi and pi at D6, but the problem with that is that it doesn't score very much, and I'm left with 5 consonants. So in that case, I would need to consider if changing was a better option. If my opponent makes a floating A available, I've got trank, kindar and kintar. Proteide, that's nice, 72 points. It doesn't block my spot for chi and my, but it does provide an alternative. What's good about this is that I'm playing off an additional consonant, so I'm only retaining 4 rather than 5. And it scores more, 42 points. Yeah, I don't think there's anything better than that. And that's a good recovery. I have drawn 2 vowels, including an E, and I've now got a half-decent rack. I don't have a 7-letter bingo. I may have an 8 through a floater, but there aren't many floaters available on this board. If I don't have a bingo, I'll be looking to play the V off. And I could play Vor at C11, making vid and 1, keeping DEST. That would be over 20 points. I note that the triple word square at A8 is available, so I could play DVOT for 30 points. Now that would leave RST, which doesn't have any vowels, but it is a great set of consonants. And the score is certainly attractive, as well as denying my opponent the opportunity of playing in that spot. Also, DVOT would provide a floating E at B8, which would be good given my rack leave of RST. I do have the over prefix, but I'm struggling to see an 8. I'm fairly sure there isn't one available on the board at the moment, but if my opponent makes a floater available, it's good to think in advance of what floaters you can make a bingo with. My opponent plays Dean. He blocks Devote, but he enables Devote. Which will be for 3 more points. So that's 33 points. And I have Ratoons and Santur. And Santur plays to pluralise Proteide. I don't think Ratoons plays anywhere. But do I have anything through the floaters in Devote, which is really just the D and the E? Donators, Tornadoes, Odorants, and Tan Doors. Those are the 4 through the D, and of those Donators is best because it reaches a triple word square at A15. Great, so I've got Donators or Santur. I'm definitely bingoing next go. What do I have through the E of Devote? Well, there may be something there, but I can't see it. The score now is 87 to 148, so I am 60 points behind, and it's my opponent to play. So this bingo will come at a welcome time. My and Phi is really obstructing the bottom left of the board because My takes nothing in front of it and Phi takes nothing after it. opponent could play down from A13 to pluralised chin, and that would obstruct both of my intended bingos. Would it obstruct all four of the bingos through D? It'd certainly obstruct donators and tandoors and odorants. So that may be problematic. Tornadoes would still play, that's good. I don't have anything through the V of devote. And I can't see anything beginning with the Y of fatty. Or indeed the T of fatty. My opponent is taking a while with his move, so he may be close to a bingo. So what else is available with this rack? Well, I can't see anything. I think the options are fairly clear. I'll play donators if I can, and my second choice move would be Santur and Proteide. And if both of those are blocked, I've got tornadoes at A3. But after my opponent has played, I will be looking to see if he has opened up additional opportunities, especially for my 7-letter words ratoons and Santur. The E of devote looks like there could be a bingo through it. But nothing has come to mind. Great, ICF for 13. Now that's good because it doesn't score very much. It's also good because it doesn't block donators. And he hasn't provided any opportunities for better bingos. Looks like he may have been struggling with vowels. Well, I have only one vowel, but I have drawn the S and the Z, both of which are generally good tiles. I certainly don't have a bingo with this rack. And although ZO is a word and DZO is a word, I would like to find something better than playing either of those, because the rack leave would be bad. I note that Forza is a word, Forza, and froze, but neither is playable on this board. I don't have to play off the Z immediately. If I can't get a decent score, I'll be looking to play off some of my other letters. So a play of Ford somewhere, leaving RSZ. Maybe the type of move I'm looking to play. But there aren't many openings on this board for anything, particularly when you don't have many vowels. Well, I can play Ford at C11, making Fid and 1. I do have a very slight lead at the moment, 6 points, which is likely to evaporate as my opponent plays. So there's no particular advantage in me closing the board down or opening it up. I note in passing, however, that forward would obstruct the floaters of R and S indonators. So is there anything better than forward? That would score 26 points, which is not bad. I could play Credo at b6, but the score is poor and it would burn my vowel and leave me with 4 consonants, so that's not a good play. There are 47 tiles in the bag and 7 on my opponent's rack. I've got just under 16 minutes left, but my opponent has got under 8 minutes. And he has obstructed my forward play, which is irksome. Because I didn't have a second choice. Well, I could play Orff underneath the Y of Fatty for 12 points. That's not a great score. Well, a play of at C13 would be 28 points, but it would leave DRRS Z, which is not good. It would have the advantage, however, of not opening up anything for my opponent. So I'm just considering if I have anything in row A or B. Well, or indeed C onto the I of Icea. Whenever I'm looking at a play which leaves me with 5 consonants, I like to try really hard to find one which has a better leave, because it's just inviting trouble for the next rack. Well, let's see if I can draw a vowel. And I don't, and this is the big problem with plays like of when you're retaining 4 or 5 consonants. There is always a possibility that you'll end up with a rack like this. Even if I can play through it, I'm unlikely to score well. And I'm faced with a dilemma as to whether to change or whether to play a move like crew at b6 for 14 points. It's not a big score, and it leaves 5 consonants. So playing like that, you can end up with a succession of plays of less than 20 points. Not good. If I do change, I'll keep the R, the S and the Z. There's only one R unseen, so this is a different situation than the opening play when there were 5 unseen. I do have a narrow lead at this point. of 11 points. I can't see anything better than crew. The board is very tight, so my opponent may struggle to score, and alternatively he may open the board up, which could provide me with an opportunity to play through this rack. If he provided a floating E, I could play Drew, D-R-E-W. And that would almost certainly be better than changing. Well, my opponent now has less than 6 minutes on his clock, and there are still 42 tiles in the bag, so I may be able to exert pressure on him by playing quickly. Hopefully not at the expense of playing well. And given that he is short of time, a tight board works to my advantage. An open board generally has a number of scoring opportunities, and if you're short of time, you can generally score well without necessarily making the best play. He now has less than 5 minutes left. That simplifies my task, because he's taken the spot that I was going to play in. I've just noticed that both blanks are unseen, so I think I will play off the R to increase my chances of drawing one of them. Doesn't work, but I have sleazos, and I can pluralise proteide, so I have a bingo. There's a slight doubt in my mind as to whether sleazo is pluralised by an S or an ES, but I'm certainly going to play it. Now I do now have an alternative spot for playing it. I can pluralise mar and play it at K3. So I'm going to put both of these down to check the scores and observe the impact on the board. So sleazo's here is 87 points, and it places the O above the double letter square at L8. So that's 87. That's 89. Well, very little in it score-wise. This position does enable my opponent to play a 7-letter bingo, pluralised by the final S of sleazos, but this move provides plenty of opportunities. There's the triple word square at H15 which is available, so if my opponent does use the final S, there'll be other scoring opportunities available. And I do draw one of the blanks, which is good. Do I have a playable bingo? Well, my opponent does not use the final S, so the very risk that I was exposing myself to is now available to me. If I do have a 7-letter bingo, I may be able to pluralise it with the final S of sleazos. I have unlinked at F15 through Carl, through the L of Carl. It doesn't score very much, but I'm already 30 points ahead before playing it. So any bingo is going to be good. I'm just going to mentally run through the alphabet to see if I can get a better bingo. I would have unkinder through an E or an R, but none's available. I'm up to L. Nothing else has come to mind. I think none-like is good, but that doesn't take an S. But it does pluralise, sorry, it does play onto ma to make man. And therefore would be doubled, so would be better than unlinked. And would actually score more than any bingo which went on to the S of sleazo, so I'm going to stop looking for bingos that can go on to the S of sleazos. The only other thing to consider is bingos starting with the L of Carl, because that would be tripled. And I can't see one. It'll be interesting to see what bingos I've missed, because I think there probably were several available with this rack. This stops my opponent using the S of sleazos. And I draw the second blank. The rest of the rack isn't great, but that doesn't matter. My possession of the blank denies my opponent its use. And with the U, V and W and duplicate I's, this isn't a rack I can sort out in one go. But that's not really a problem when you're over 100 points ahead. If I can just keep scoring 20 or 30 points and keep the board tight, that should suffice. Now note that the O of sleazos is next to a triple letter square, so I could play wit for 29 points. So what else is available? Well, I've got wit at L2, making mani and ut for 22. That would be less dangerous in terms of opening up bingo lanes. I don't like keeping the U and the V, although I can't totally sort out my rack in one move. I'd like to do a little better than leaving the U and the V on my rack. I notice also that there are two U's unseen, so keeping the U and the V opens me to the possibility of having two U's and a V on my next rack, and I'd like life to be a little bit easier than that. Neither the V nor the W goes well with the U, so it'd be good to play off the V and the U, the W and the U, or the V and the W. I guess I could play vow at J, 12, 17 points. Right, my opponent plays mug. He takes out the spot where I was considering playing wit. He hasn't opened up other opportunities. Mo does take the W after it, but I can't then play down onto that or down from it. My opponent's got 2.5 minutes left. There are 18 tiles in the bag. He has opened a bingo lane in playing mug. But if his word ends in an S, then he's going to score face value. This may not be the best move, but I note that my opponent has played one U, which reduces the prospects of drawing another U since there's only one unseen. And that's a fairly balanced rack, but with the U and the V and the B, I don't think I have a bingo. But I'm not looking for a bingo to win. My opponent has played quite quickly. I'm looking to score reasonably well with this rack and keep working towards keeping the rack balanced. So it'd be good to play off the V and the U if possible. Well, it's not so urgent to play off the V. But a play like bun is quite nice because the rack leave is okay. V does go well with A and I, and obviously the blank is always of value. There are 4 E's unseen, so if you add an E to this leave, it's looking quite promising. And if my opponent takes hooks a letter onto the end of bun, he will be opening up the triple word squares in row O. And this scores 23 points, so it keeps the score ticking along. Even if my opponent bingos, I should still be the favourite to win. Ooh, I draw all of the remaining I's. That's a bit annoying. I certainly do not have a bingo. And looking at the remaining tiles, it's quite a bingo-y bunch of letters, so it wouldn't surprise me if my opponent did have a bingo now, and I only have the V for scoring, so this could be a close finish. If I just play off the V and one vowel, then I'm keeping 4 vowels, which is restricting my opportunities to keep scoring. Okay, my opponent has disconnected. Hopefully that will be a temporary matter and he will rejoin us. But I will, in the meantime, just pause this recording. And before I do that, he has returned, which is good. He's got just over a minute left on his clock. If I wanted to score, I could play Kivers from the K of none-like, but I would be using my blank as an S. But that would be 36 points. My opponent does play a bingo. Fortunately, it's face value, 72 points. And looking at the score, I am 30 points ahead. And there are 3 tiles in the bag. So, what to do? Well, I could do this. Now what this achieves, it scores 20 points. It stops my my opponent bingoing in row O, and it leaves 1 tile in the bag. So this gives me a 50-point lead. And it also stops him scoring from the triple word square at 08. So it achieves quite a lot of good things. And my opponent does have a bingo-y set of letters, which you can see at the bottom of the screen, but he doesn't have anywhere to play them. the only available bingo lane would be through the L and the A of Carl and Moxa. And, well, that would be quite impressive if he found a bingo through those. It's also very unlikely. Now, my opponent has got only 17 seconds left, so he's going to have to act soon to avoid going overtime. I have just under 5 minutes, so I have plenty of time. Well, that's it. My opponent is now overtime. He automatically incurs a 10-point penalty. And if he goes a minute over time, he loses the game. But I don't think that's going to happen. He's now only got AGE on his rack. So he could play Geel at E15. What else does he have? And he could play Age at I8, so I need to assume that he's going out. Therefore, I certainly don't need to hang on to my blank. So where can I score? Well, I can play down from the A of Moxa onto the triple word square at O15. It would be nice to play off the V and or the P, especially if I could put one of those tiles on the double letter square at L15. Well, I could play Alpine. Let's see what that scores. Alpine is 30 points. I think I'm going to struggle to find anything better, and that's certainly good enough. If my opponent doesn't go out, I've got at least 2 spots where I can. I could play Vi at O13, and I could also play Vi at I9. Okay, so he's gone out. And I win the game 454 to 420. So a reasonably high scoring game and a narrow victory for me. Let's see what I missed. Oh my word, look at that on the right. Sleazo's is a phony, so that's not, well, I got away with that. Not something to be proud of, but in a tournament situation that would certainly be a good feeling. Playing on the internet, I feel slightly sheepish. Right, well, yeah, a bunch of low scoring plays. And likewise, but the play I was looking for was Porter at D5. That was the play which played one additional consonant. Chin, that was my move. And, well, I played Devote. I think that's as good as any of the alternatives there. And there was only Donators and Santur. Okay. So at J1, oh I see, making Mo. Well, I didn't consider that. I should have done 37 points is a lot. Thirds, 24 points, keeping MRWZ at H4. Yeah, that would have been worth considering. And this was my Sleazo's bingo that I got away with. Wow, there was only none like and unlinked. I curtailed my search for bingos here, and I felt there were others, but there weren't. Now we're getting towards the end of the game. Wit was my move. And Bavin at K11. Well, Bavin, that's where I played Bun. But the problem with Bavin is that it opens up the prospect of a 9 timer at 08, starting at 08. So I wouldn't have wanted to give my opponent that possibility of winning. Well, a whole bunch of similarly scoring moves here. And finally, well, there was Alvine. I wasn't sure of that. I knew Alevin, but not Alvine. And, well, Alpine was fine. So, that is the end of the game. I think there were a number of interesting spots in it. It was slightly closer at the end than I had hoped, due to my pickup of a lot of vowels. But overall, I hope you enjoyed watching that. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.